While wildfires continue to rage on in Western Canada and the effects going nationwide, like even here in Ontario, there is a 10 out of 10 high risk air quality right now. Let's talk about the people that are affected the most disproportionately from these wildfires. And I want you to guess who it is. If you guessed Indigenous people, you're correct. There's this article that I found in the Narwhal, which is a great Canadian newspaper that you should check out. And in this article from 2021, they talk about how Indigenous communities are disproportionately threatened by wildfires. Now, this article is citing a study done in April of 2021. Here's the study. So I'll do my best to find more current information that will back up this study and this article. Everyone should know the Public Health Agency of Canada released this study in 2024. I will do a video on this study, possibly breaking it up into parts because it is a really big study, but let me know if you'd like that. Now let's get back to the Narwhal article at hand. More than 10% of Canadians are living in homes that are increasingly threatened by wildfires, with on-reserve First Nations communities being disproportionately affected, according to new research published by scientists from Canada's Natural Resources Department. A new study published in the Canadian Journal of Forest Research found that roughly 4.1 million people, or 12.3% of the Canadian population, reside within what authors call wildland-human interface, or areas with homes and public structures that intermingle with forests. But the percentage of people at risk in on-reserve First Nations communities is nearly 3 times higher, with 32.1% of this population facing looming dangers as the climate crisis exacerbates natural disasters. The authors estimated First Nations reserve inhabitants made up only 1.1% of the Canadian population, based on the 2011 census. And when you start to think about how First Nations and Indigenous people are affected by these wildfires, it's mostly because of farmland. The erosions of crops, which is integral to Indigenous people, as well as forests, which we'll talk about later. The researchers coming to light a few months into a devastating forest fire season with more than 2.7 million hectares of land in Canada already affected by wildfires, including a deadly blaze in June that unalived 2 people and destroyed the town of Lytton, BC, and the fire resulted in roughly 300 insurance claims and $78 million in insured damage, according to recent estimates by the Insurance Bureau of Canada. Here's a picture of a helicopter responding to the William Lakes wildfires on July 15, 2017. Now let's talk about the connection to the forest and Indigenous people and regular people as well. Aaron Judge, the assistant professor of Anishinaabe Studies at Algoma University, who is not affiliated with the study, believes that people need to shift their mentality and recognize the symbiotic relationship between humans and the forest. From an Anishinaabe perspective, humans are the most reliant of all creatures and need the most of other beings, Judge said, but many humans are also caught up in prioritizing financial rather than ecological values. This is basically tying back to the idea of capitalism and how it is destroying our planet and our climate and our ecosystems. We continue to look at the forest as lumber and not breath, he said. The forest represents the breath of life. It inhales what we exhale, and exhales what we inhale. Judge said it's now more urgent than ever to change the way that we think about the natural world, because the cost of not doing so is and will continue to disproportionately be felt by marginalized communities. The federal wildfire study shows just how the pressure of wildfires bearing down directly on First Nations reserves. The study cited in this article was co-authored by Lem M. Johnston, a forest fire research scientist, Francis Minka, a forest biologist, Pierre Bernier, a forest productivity research scientist, Emir Stis, Amy Cardinal Christensen, a Métis fire social scientist, Thomas Schwarzstuen, a forest systems modeling specialist, and Sylvie Gauthier, the forest succession research scientist. All co-authors work for the Canadian Forest Service. In the end, climate change is affecting everybody, but it's disproportionately affecting Indigenous people, the ones that claim to this land. We are destroying their land by seeking profit, and I think it's time we step back and reevaluate our relationship with our ecosystem, because everyone deserves clean water, everybody deserves a good forest to forage in, or even just to go in. People also deserve not to have their farmland burned because of ecological factors that are man made.